Good afternoon. This is Manny Gathers, and today I want to take about 15, 20 minutes to provide some educational viewpoints on non-performing notes, or AKA non-performing loans. And essentially, what I want to dispel is really most people, when they think about investing in real estate, they're only looking at it from, the basic viewpoints. One, you're going to buy a property, at a discount and fix it, flip it, and try to make a profit, and hopefully, sell it high enough to make money to pay for borrowed money, the cost of carrying the deal, and you walk away with some profit. Or the second thing is they buy a property, fix it, and turn into a rental. Try to create that, rental portfolio with multiple properties, and obviously grow that wealth that way. And again, when you look at the traditional real estate investing, which are those two I just described, you most folks again forget to do the deeper math calculations. On the surface, it looks, pretty easy when you say, hey, I'm going to spend 50,000 to buy this property. I'm going to put 50,000 to rehab this property. And then once this all done, it's worth about 150,000. Now I can sell this property, turn around and pay off the borrowed money, and the listing agents and title companies for closing, and take away your carrying costs, while you were doing the repairs as far as utilities and insurance. And hopefully you can walk away with $30,000 in that particular deal. Or if that deal doesn't go quite the way you want, then you end up fixing it and then just turn it into a rental property. And hopefully you can, rent it out high enough that you can cover the cost of carrying the loan and upkeep and repairs over time, things like that. So those are the two traditional strategies. And again, when you take a deeper look at those scenarios from a mathematical viewpoint, I mean, you can see either way, you have to put up the 50,000 to buy the property, 50,000 to rehab the property, 5 to 10 grand for the cost of carrying the property. So you into this thing for $110,000. That's cash on the table. And now you have to take time to get that money back at a profit, because if you fix it and flip it, again, that may be 6-9 months down the road, but you're still on the hook for that 6 or 9 months with that amount of money on the table. And if you fix it and rent it, now you got 150, 110 grand on the table in this rental property that you're trying to, month by month, get your return on your investment yielding 7-8%. But the reality is it's going to take you many, many years to, generate a significant return. Because in that particular deal, if you're only netting $200, $300 after all the bills are paid on your rental property, you're not going to live off that. That's just the reality. So mathematically, $300 a month profit is not going to be enough to make you financially independent. It's income, but you need to have multiple rental properties in order to make this thing work. So, and obviously the more rental properties you keep getting with that same formula, the more risk you're going to be faced with, because You may get 5, 10 properties rental, bringing you $200-300 a month. Yeah, that's 2 or 3 thousand, but you got 10 properties all exposed to the same situation. If the market takes a reverse and your tenants, the jobs leave your particular area, now the economy can't support your rental because people have to leave and go where the jobs are. So now you're stuck with 10 rentals with all the loans to pay back. You're going to lose those properties more likely. So you have to go in that deal with a lot more cash in order to get those properties where it's mostly all paid in cash, if not all, so that you're operating from, essentially ground zero. It's a cash deal, cash rehab, cash acquisition. And now I know that I'm out of 100 grand, but everything I make is mine except, maintenance and landlording stuff that comes with it. So, again, still a math issue. When you really look at the numbers deeper, you'll see that you're exposed 100% because all your money is on the table. And now you have to, use time to your advantage to get that, reduce your risk and get your return back over time. So I kind of laid that out so you can understand that. But let's dig into a non-performing loan transaction. So again, that's me, Best Money Strategies. And again, this is a lesson on non-performing loan. In this example, let's assume that this homeowner has a outstanding mortgage balance of $100,000 left on their property. And they may have 10 years, 15 years to go to pay it off. Now, the balance is 100,000, but their value of their property went down for whatever reason to 70,000. So technically they're upside down. They still owe 100 grand, but the value of their home is only 70 grand. So they can't refi, they're kind of stuck in that terrible sweet spot where they can't really do much, without some assistance. So they go to, and their mortgage payments are $1,000 a month. That's principal and interest, $1,000 a month. And so they go to the bank and say, hey, lender, hey, I want to, modify my loans. I can't afford $1,000, but I can afford $500 a month. Can you help me out? Well, that lender may say, well, you still owe 100,000. We need 25,000 down. And then we'll modify it to about $700 a month. And for you, the homeowner, that still is not doable because one, you don't have the 20 or 25 grand cash to put down as a down payment. And two, you need to be 500 a month. You already did your math. You're saying 500 is a number, not 700. So the bank is not working with you. In this particular deal, this homeowner is what the bank would classify as non-performing because they're not paying the mortgage either on time, they're paying it late, or they're paying a partial, or they're just not paying at all. So in this particular scenario, this homeowner hasn't paid their mortgage for like 9 months, 12 months. And don't be shocked. There are millions of homes out there, homeowners that have gone multiple years, 2, 3, 4 years without paying a dime on their mortgage, and the bank hasn't foreclosed. And the reason the banks don't foreclose is because they're stuck in a bind too. They have laws and requirements that they have to have so many good loans compared to bad loans. So if they go ahead and write this off as a foreclosure, that's another bad loan on the books. That'll mess up their ratio and they could get audited, possibly shut down. So to avoid that, they just run it on the books as subperforming note, a non-performing note loan, but they don't necessarily write it off completely as a foreclosure. And now they can get away with it, kicking that can down the road for some, months or years at a time in some cases. And they do that. And think about it. If you have a homeowner that had a 30-year mortgage and they already paid at least half of it, 15 years, they've already paid for the house 2 times already. So the last 15 years is more gravy. So the bank has no real incentive or rush to try to, again, foreclose on your home, because that's going to cost them money. When they foreclose, they have to get that property, get you out, get that property put in a certain status physically, meaning, they got to be safe and lead free and all these different things. And they don't want to spend that money to foreclose it. So that's more money out of their pocket. A bank doesn't want to transact money out of the bank. So you got to first think about that. A bank doesn't want to really give out money unless it's almost certain that it's going to get it back in a very short time. I mean, just think about a home transaction. When you go close a mortgage deal on your home, does the bank give you a loan, meaning cash? No, they give you a piece of paper, a mortgage, and say you owe 100,000, 300,000 over the next 30 years. They don't give you the cash unless you're building that house from ground zero, meaning a construction loan. That's when the bank is on the hook completely, 100%, a construction loan. But for a typical home sale, they're just reselling the property that's already been sold many, many times before, or years before. So what happens is they have, the bank really looks at this as a no-brainer for them. If I can give you a mortgage and say you owe me money and don't give you the money, it's a win-win for the bank. And to make it even worse, you come to the table on closing day with 20% down, 20, 30 grand, and the bank, it probably cost them $1,000 to close your loan out that day. Some title company fees and things of that nature. It cost them $1,000. So you bring 20 to the table, they just made $19,000 on the transaction of selling you a home. Just like that, even though you have a mortgage balance of $300,000, they made money the day they close. So when you look at it from that perspective, meaning from the perspective of being the bank, you'll see that they take very little risk in these transactions. And they do this every day, all day long. So fast forward, now the bank says, hey, this person hasn't paid in a year and a half. And along comes my business, my company, Invest Money Strategies. And I say, hey, bank, I'll buy your non-performing loan. I'm looking for one right now. You got one? Sure. I have a great one for you. 18 months, no mortgage payments. They owe 100,000. House is upside down, worth 70,000. The payments used to be 1,000 a month. They got back pay of 18 months. So they, $18,000 of back pay plus fees and penalties. So they're like $25,000 in the hole, plus the $100,000 balance. Make me an offer and I'll sell you this note. And so I'll go to the bank and say, you know what? I'll give you $28,000, 40% of the home value. It's worth 70,000. I'm gonna give them 28,000 cash, and now we have the note. Now we are the bank. We just literally switch places. So now Best Money Strategies is the bank. But what happens? Okay, let me clarify. Best Money Strategies is like the managing partner or managing entity. So we'll take control of the note, but an investor, a private investor, meaning someone like you, or you with your, 401k or Roth or your LLC or whatever it is, or just you with your bank savings and checking account, you are the private investor. You are technically the bank because you're going to bring the 28 grand to the table. Best Money Strategies is simply going to control the steps in order to make this deal profitable again. So that's how it works. So that means you as a private investor have all the rights and authority, just like a bank does, to foreclose, take it back, all that good stuff, modify. You can do all those things. But the way we're going to do this particular transaction, we're going to do a joint venture where you as a private investor, you're going to be passive. All you're doing is putting up the capital and my company will do all the work. So in this particular case, you put up the 28 grand, we get the note, Best Money Strategy starts the transaction. Now we reach out to this homeowner And not me personally, we hire lawyers to do that, but they reach out to the homeowner and try to explain to them, hey, you have a new lender, and the lender is now willing to help you stay in your home if you want to. So unlike traditional, collectors, we're not going to have them call and try to beat them up and threaten them and say, I'm coming to your job and I'm going to call you 700 times a day. No, we're going to go use the approach of benevolence. We're trying to come and say, look, we really want to help you, but just work with us. Do you want to stay in your home? Yes. So one of three things is going to happen. That person wants to stay, but he can't afford the current price, payments. That person can't stay because they can't afford it. And some people just want to stay for free. So one of those three things are going to happen. The first one, what we call is modify. So if the person says, I want to stay, just help me out. I'll cut my mortgage in half to $500 instead of $1,000. And if you can do that, I'll pay it and we're good. So our attorney says, sure, but you need to put something down as a down payment. That homeowner said, you know what, I can put down, in this particular case, $3,000. That's what the first 3K is. They put down $3,000 down payment, and then they start making $500 a month payment. We put a stipulation on that and say, if 6 months from now in a row, you pay your mortgage on time, don't miss a payment, we will officially modify it to stay at $500 a month for the next 20 years. And they said, no problem. So they signed the paperwork with the lawyers. They put down the $3,000. They start making $500 a month payment. Month 6 comes around. They did their part. We're just simply going to refinance them, which is the second step. We're going to refinance them, their loan with FHA. And FHA is going to say, well, since you guys are the new lenders and you helping out this homeowner, if you're willing to forgive their negative balance on their debt and all this back pay, we will take over this loan. We will buy it from you and refinance it out at 97.5%. So what does that mean? That means if I'm willing to, they owe 100,000, but the house is only worth 70, plus they owe 25,000 in back pay. If I'm willing to forgive the 30,000 upside down plus 25, so 55 grand, I'm just going to erase it like it never happened. Now their balance is 70,000 and their value is 70,000. So they're level with their home. If I'm willing to do that, FHA is going to now give me 97.5% of the home value, which is 70 grand. That's the value, which is about $68,250 to be exact. So they're going to cut me a check for $68,250. We're going to turn around, exit the deal. Now the homeowner has a new loan, remodified with FHA at a lower interest rate than what we were charging them. And that means the payment's even lower now. So probably like $400 a month instead of $500, and probably like 4 or 5% instead of 8, 9, 10% that we were charging. So they're extra happy because we just saved them and really boosted their income and saved their financial, ruin. So now here it is, month 6, we got $3K down, $3K worth of, payments over the 6 months. And we just made $68,000 from the FHA refi. Well, after we pay off, agents and closing and all these different costs, we walk away with $60,000 profit. Add those numbers together, that's $66,000 off of this transaction. Now, we only spent $28,000. So you see what I'm saying? You just look at the math right there. You just made the difference between 66 and $28,000. Almost 40 grand, just like that, 6-7 months down the road. But you only put up $28,000. So obviously your ROI is going to be probably 40-50% on this deal. And the thing is, really about this is that most folks don't even take the time to really understand why note investing is so powerful. Now think about this. You're going to control the deal. I'm going to own that note. So you are the bank, but you're not going to have to worry about upkeep, repairs, anybody calling you to fix anything because the homeowner still owns their property. You're just the bank collecting payments. And if you're a passive investor, all you're doing is putting up the capital. My company is doing all the work, reaching out to the borrower and getting them to pay, and the money is just going to hit your account on a quarterly basis, and then the final lump sum once the transaction is complete. So your account is going to just receive this money, and we'll split this between my company and you based on terms, and we'll decide what those are, and we'll say, hey, we'll split this. You'll get X%, I'll get X% of the profits, and go from there. And I'll pay all the bills that when it comes to getting this stuff done in between. You just literally get back your money plus profits. And typically, as an investor, 12% is like a safe, easy number. That's the typical, 10% for sure, but 12%. People like 12 because it's like 1% per month. So a lot of folks like the 12% number, but 10, 12% is easy. And then, getting double digits, 25 or more, that happens too all the time because again, we're buying this at such a huge discount, 40, 50% of value. And you have all that equity built in and room for, profits. And when you compare this to a traditional real estate deal, the math just blows you away. I'm putting up less money and I have multiple ways to make money. Whereas in the traditional, I only got a couple ways. I got to sell it for more, or I got to rent it and wait for a long time to get my money back. In this deal, we're talking about average 6 to 9 months in the deal. Sometimes it's less than that, 3 months, 2 months. But 6 to 9 months is a normal transaction time, and you're out the deal. You get your double-digit return, and you move on to another one and another one. And that's the true monopoly game. So imagine having 10, 15 of these done every year. And if you're earning 12% every year, well, you do the math. I mean, you're going to double your money every 5 years, every 5, 6 years. So that means you're growing your whatever account you're going to use. If it's a self-directed plan account, or if it's a LLC, or if it's just a regular checking and savings, whatever, you're going to be bringing more money back to your pocket that you couldn't do on your own by just working and putting it away and hoping it grows. This is how you supercharge whatever funding source you're going to utilize. So this is again, what you call a non-performing note, and this is like a typical transaction. And like I said, you only have one of three things going to happen to the homeowner. They're going to take your modification. They're going to just sign the house over to you, which is called signed deed in lieu, which say, hey, I can't afford it. Just take it back, and then we'll take the home back, make sure they don't destroy it, damage it, inspect it, and they walk away free and clear. We just forgive their debt, and we don't damage their credit. There's no foreclosure. They're happy to give the keys back if I can do that for them. So that's the difference when you're the bank compared to a traditional bank. Traditional banks is not going to do that. They're going to put it on the foreclosure. They're going to damage your credit. They're going to put you through the ringer. And that's just what happens. So what we're doing is we're making this a win-win-win. We're going to take this bad deal, make it good for the homeowner if they want to stay, and we're going to make it good for the investor who's putting up the capital, and then we're going to make it good for the bank because we're going to help get bad stuff off their books. I mean, it's a win-win-win. So, again, some of the strategies, like I said, foreclosure is the last option. We'll do that if we have to, if someone's truly being a knucklehead, they don't want to pay and they want to stay. But then, yeah, foreclosure is there. We're the lender, so we can go take the property back via foreclosure. I'm not going to go knock on the door and do it. We're going to hire the attorney who knows the legal law, and they'll get it done. We take the property back and we'll wholesale it. We'll fix it and sell it at top value, or we'll just put it in the auction and let it sold that way. Or you can fix it and turn it into a rental, turnkey rental property sale. So it's so many different ways. Like I said, there's about 9 different ways you can make money in a typical non-performing loan transaction. Whereas you're stuck in a traditional with one or two, ways without losing a bunch of money. Because, and this is all about speed. So again, you can do multiple of these in a year, and you just juiced up whatever account you're using. Whereas how many real typical deals can you do with a real estate transaction, a normal transaction? You're gonna have a lot of cash or a lot of borrowing power in order to do that. With a non-performing, you only need a fraction of that because you're getting these things at about 40% discount. And again, this is a non-performing. Um, the next lesson we're going to talk about is performing, which is just another variation of this, but a little different animal. But again, it's still a profitable business to be in. So again, low risk, better yields, better safety, and less capital, as possible. That's the formula for investing in real estate. That's the real formula. You want to be the bank, and if you're operating as an investor, you are technically the bank. So you have all the protections that come with any other bank that owns a note on a property. That's just the way it is. So they're not as scary as you think. It's something that every person should consider to add to their investment portfolios, because again, it's just another way to really make some serious money in a shorter period of time by trying to, just simply save it all yourself. You can save money, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying not to do that. This is just another tool you want to have in your toolbox for sure. So there you go. So that's my email. You can just email me, Manny at bestmoneystrategy.com. You can call or text 410-855-5373. 410-855-5373. And like I said, you can go to our website, bestmoneystrategies.com, whatever. There's a million ways you can get in touch with me. But if you want to understand this and really get started to making some serious money with minimum risk, you should consider being an investor in non-performing loans. It's what the big guys been doing for a long, long time. And it's a very niche industry that now the average person is finally beginning to get access to. It's just, you have to know the right people that are in this space and that can teach you the correct way to play this game. So there you have it. Appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you soon. Have a good one.